So my name is Kyle Neumann. I'm a senior vice president at Bellwether Enterprise. We're a national full-service mortgage, commercial multifamily mortgage banking company, and I have a unique perspective in terms of investing with Dobbs and Chris and the Ackerman team, and that I've been sourcing a lot of the debt capital, predominantly all of their debt capital that they've used in their acquisitions business and development business over the last 10 plus years. So I've been fortunate enough to see firsthand the progression of the team and the progression of the platform over the last 10 plus years, and just seeing how they take care of their people, how they take care of their properties. I think it's Dobbs often quotes his father when he says, take care of your property and they'll take care of you. And it's pretty evident, having walked personally every property in the Ackerman portfolio and just seen and spoken with the on-site staff and how much they're enabled to provide the best quality of life and for the tenant and take care of their properties, and it's shown. So being the predominant capital provider for all of the projects that they've invested in, I've seen the performance. I've seen firsthand the returns and what they've been able to do for their investors, and in turn what they've invested in the company as well. So it only seemed like a natural progression, given the opportunity to invest in AMF Fund 1, which is my first investment with the Ackerman team. It was a no-brainer to invest my capital with them, because I see firsthand the organization that they've built and have been impressed with it for a long time. I think to start with, just an overarching comment about the leadership team, and that when you're looking to invest your own dollars into something, investment performance is important, but I think the character and quality of the people that you're investing with matters even more. And you can't quantify that necessarily in investment returns, but I think it pays off over a fund cycle or an asset hold cycle. And character is something that all four of the executives at Ackerman have in spades. So that gives me a lot of confidence in being a part of the team and working with them, and also putting the dollars that I earn into their properties. Dobbs it's been interesting knowing Dobbs for the last 10 years or so, because watching his growth and how he has moved himself in a leadership position in the executive role around to all of the different components of the business, and built out the different pieces of the business. The management team, he will immerse himself for long lengths of time in the management of operations to get to know the boots on the ground, the people that are making the properties work from day to day, so he can be a better leader and a better decision maker. And the same goes with the investment side. And also, I think something that's been his passion too is the development piece of the business. He's extraordinary at, right? He's an excellent placemaker with his Madisonville project, which is your headquarters now. So I think that has been a really neat piece of his leadership to see, is how he gets with everybody inside the business and almost ingrains himself in it so he can make better decisions. Chris historically has been on the investment side. It's interesting to work with Chris and then with John's teams as they look at new investment opportunities, because Chris and Alex, aggressive, they want to go turn every stone and find opportunities, while maintaining the discipline that I think John keeps everybody in check, right? So from a decision-making standpoint, I think those two teams go hand in hand, even though they serve different functions, and that they stay disciplined and steady in their approach to looking at underwriting projects. It can be frustrating at times, I think, because you have to underwrite 100 deals maybe to buy one deal, but they never waver. I think a prime example of this is a few years ago when the non-recourse bridge debt funds entered the market, and there were a lot of podcast syndicator capital raisers out there in the marketplace. And it was a very crowded space for value add multifamily, a lot of new entrants into the marketplaces using some more risky, higher leveraged, call it Wall Street debt products, and they were getting beat on acquisitions routinely by groups that were using these products, and talking with the aggregate and said, hey, look, I can bring those products to you if that's where you want to shape your model, but I never got a sense that it was. And John, to his credit, long term, baking it, like fixing your rate over the long term. If the numbers work today based on the rate that you use today, he'll execute and move on and not look back, right? Because you take a lot of that risk on the table. Now we see, flash forward to 3 years later today, a lot of those loans are coming due or in a much higher interest rate environment, and the refinances don't work. And that would have been, problematic, going into the first fund. But I think staying disciplined and their approach to looking at properties has served them and will continue to serve them very well. I mean, you look at the portfolio as a whole, and the average interest rate is, I think, sub 4%, even with some of the supplementals, with a lot of runtime before you start to hit any real maturities, and you feel really good about the health of your investment and the cash flow coming from that investment relative to some of the turbulence that's out in the marketplace. But what the turbulence that's there now, I think, is going to create even more opportunities for Alex and for Chris. Greg, I have not had as much direct one-on-one interaction with Greg throughout the process. We get involved in closing time issues a lot of times when we're dealing with insurance, more importantly insurance costs that continue to keep going up. But I've seen firsthand out on the site, right, the operations team, right, and the budgets and the process and systems that they put in place to make sure that the properties are well taken care of, that they're budgeting correctly, that they're hitting operational metrics that they put out for the members in the field. So, and Greg is just a great guy. He's fun to be around. He complements the rest of the leadership team extraordinarily well. And together, they have a high level of professionalism, and I think in purpose in terms of how they run their business together. Yeah, I think the transparency, the quarterly calls that you have with the funds is about as transparent as it gets. I mean, you put out some pretty detailed reporting in terms of performance, and if a project is behind, you don't shy away from saying, we're behind, but this is how we plan on getting back on track. And you open it up for questions, right? I've been involved in some other smaller investments where, it's an update only, right, with no exposure to the people that they've asked to invest with them, but the whole team puts it out there and will take on any questions that may come up. So I don't think you can ask for any more than that. And I've recommended to friends and family, people that have invested through the impact fund that's in the AMF Fund 1. So yeah.